Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ Film Festival. This is our 37th year. We have some amazing films this year. One of the documentaries that we're very excited about is A Long Way from Heaven. I'm going to read a brief description, and then we're going to meet the director, David Sant. A Long Way from Heaven tells the story of BYU's queer underground demanding their place in the sunlight. It focuses on the students who lit the school's iconic white and rainbow colors and the resulting fallout of this event. This is a film that we like so much. I'm very, very happy that this is part of our streaming catalog this year. Thank you, David Sant.
Yeah, thank you so much for including the film in the festival. I'm really, really excited to help people see this, kind of learn about this issue, and hopefully take action. So,
Yeah, I have to admit, I didn't know as much as I thought I knew about what all was going on. But first of all, what made you want to make this film?
yeah, definitely. It's a long story, but I
Okay.
was, I'll try to spark notes it as best I can because boy, is it complicated. I was a queer student at BYU.
Yeah.
I was one of the students that did not realize they were queer until I was already attending BYU.
Okay.
And so I spent almost my entire time there until my last semester completely in the closet. Um, yeah, not a great experience. Parts of it's a very good school with a lot of good programs, and I was in one of
Yeah.
those really good programs. But wow, it was socially extremely, extremely miserable. And so I sort of was quietly holding out hope for progress that the school seemed to be making at the time.
Mhm.
But then in the middle of my time at the school, there was this giant kerfuffle where the school removed its policy that prohibited homosexual behavior, and then added it back in 2 weeks
Yeah.
later after a bunch of students had come out. That was right in the middle of my high school experience, or my college experience, sorry. And so I spent a long time really mad about that. And then right at the end of my senior year, about a month before I graduated, the school's Y, the giant symbol that they painted up on the mountain 300 feet tall, was lit up in rainbow colors. And I thought BYU had done it. I was so excited. I thought this was like the beginning of some momentous change at the school. Come to find out the next morning that BYU had immediately disavowed the lighting of that Y. And so that event itself made me so frustrated that's when I started coordinating with my friends and making this film. It actually turns out one of my very close friends was a coordinator for lighting the Y rainbow. He was one of those
Oh,
protesting
nice.
students that went out and lit the mountain. And so I was like, all right, we're making a movie together.
That's
So
great.
it was going to be a short film, but it just kind of snowballed from there.
What years were you there?
I started in 2017, graduated 2021.
The policy itself is scary, but what I learned from watching this, it just sort of it seemed like they sort of moved forward, went back. It was just sort of back and forth and back and forth. And what must that be like for students who are trying to figure out what's going on and it's this and what has that been like for students?
The whiplash is
Yeah.
crazy. I have talked to, again, a lot of queer students at this school for interviews, and just because a lot of them are my friends working on this film. And I have had so many people break down in tears and not know why they're crying because they're told, oh, everything is fine at the school. They're being progressive. They're making progress. Everything's fine. And then they take back their word and they lie and they whiplash these poor students. And the stress that they are not even allowing themselves to feel while attending, I think, is the greatest tax on their emotional well-being. Is they're completely emotionally destroyed and have no idea why, because they're being fed constantly that progress is being made when it's not. It's all word and no deed.
That's a shame. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think as of August of 2023, uh, there is a ban on same-sex romantic behavior like dating, kissing, and holding hands. How horrible is that when gay people have to suppress that when they see their their straight colleagues openly doing that and no one caring?
It is. Oh, yeah, it really grinds my gears. It's extremely disheartening, to put it professionally. And on top of that, it's the way that that honor code is being used at the school. Like I know one person who, our suspicion, it's never been confirmed because of the anonymous reporting system at the time,
Yeah.
but our suspicion was that he was in a very high position in his program and another
Yeah.
student wanted that position and reported him to the honor code office for being gay. Problem is that student had never been in a gay relationship up until that point. He was just reported for being gay when the honor code office said, would you ever consider being in a relationship with another man? He said, yes, I would consider it. And so they asked him not to return. He'd never even violated the honor code. Someone reported him for being gay and he was kicked out of the school. Even worse than the reality that you can't be in open relationships is the way people harness that against queer students.
Yeah. So as an alum, how easy or difficult has it been connecting with other alum who are also queer? And can you talk about maybe your efforts and sort of connecting again?
Yeah. I mean, actually, it's been very hard.
Yeah.
The majority, it seems like probably 90 to 95% of queer students get done with BYU and they just want to move on. They just want to be done with it and forget about it.
Yeah.
Um, and so I would say I don't even know how many people I contacted about this film because I knew they were queer and I knew they had a hard time. And they just said, I don't want this to be a part of my life anymore. Please don't contact me about this film.
Yeah.
Um, about 5% sort of stay and fight, which I think both are equally valid options.
Yeah.
You need to do what's best for you emotionally. But it has been difficult. A few of them really do want to stay and be part of the community and kind of not fight back, but push back against the system. But most just want to be gone. So,
That's a shame. So what would you say have been some of the, extreme actions BYU has taken against some of its queer students?
oh man, they have this honestly very politically brilliant system where called the ecclesiastical endorsement that I think it's far from the worst thing done to BYU students. I can get to that afterwards, but this is by
Yeah.
far the most common is the ecclesiastical endorsement. You have to have a church official endorse your attendance at the university, i.e., you have to be worthy of the religion that you are a part of
Hmm.
in order to attend the university. And by the way, you cannot be LDS or Mormon and switch religions and still attend. You can be a different religion or convert to Mormonism, but if you leave Mormonism, you are no longer allowed to attend the university. So basically, if you begin attending the university as a Mormon, an LDS person, your bishop has to approve your attendance every semester. And so they get away with it by not kicking anyone out.
Hmm.
They just aren't able to renew your ecclesiastical endorsement, and therefore you are not qualified to return the next semester. And so they have this perfectly politically clean way to eliminate queer students from the school that it just feels so extremely unethical to me. And that's not even to talk about the much, much worse things they used to do back in the 70s through the 90s of electroshocking students and vomit aversion therapies. And the
That
further back you go, the worse it gets.
that's just frightening. Can you sort of walk me through now? In the film, there is a segment about the students who lit up the school's iconic White Mountain in rainbow colors in early 2020. That must have taken a lot of, you know, that was a giant risk on their part to do that because, just talk about the risk they took by doing that.
Man, massive. I mean, it not only did they risk their attendance at the university if they were a student, but the police show up every time we do this lighting of the Y. Like
Mm,
they're risking arrest. Um, because again, BYU structures its power in a very efficient and clean way to where they can get away with things that are ethically ambiguous to despicable because the laws here are set up that way. And so they were risk getting arrested. They risked getting ostracized from their communities. They risked getting outed, which is maybe the worst
yeah.
of all of those things, at least in Utah on the Wasatch Front where we are.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, we still don't know the vast majority of the people that lit the Y the first time. I still don't know their names. We've never been able to find them.
Yeah. Um, I mean, when did you and your team make this film?
We started working on it in September of 2021,
Okay.
and we finished it in March of 2023
So
or
that
March of 2024. Sorry about that.
okay, yeah. This is still very much a very new film.
Oh, yes, brand new.
So you're just now getting it out to the world. And I'm really, really happy that out on film patrons will be able to watch this. But what are your I mean, just talk to me a little about, about where you are hoping to take this eventually, where you're showing this, some things that you're doing as part of the film.
Yeah, definitely. What I keep saying about this film is it's sort of a joke that documentarians have to have a real job so they can afford their documentary habit.
Yeah.
Um, so what I keep saying over and over is my other documentaries, I can worry about those making money. Like
Yeah.
my only worry is I need as many people to see this as possible.
Yeah.
And so that is why so far the festival circuit has been incredible. We're just submitting to as many festivals as we think will take us. And beyond that, we're hoping to lock down just some distribution, any distribution, not to sound desperate, but like I want this to be up in a place for many people to see it. And I don't care if we lose money doing that. This just needs to be a thing that people see.
Yeah. I was reading about you earlier today. Um, you are a documentary filmmaker living in Spanish Fork, Utah. You focus your work on the intersection of queer identity and spirituality, often focusing on telling the stories of queer members of the LDS Mormon Church. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, definitely. They tend to be stories that get me in a little bit of trouble sometime around here, more
Yeah.
so when I was a student than now. But the first documentary short I produced was about a BYU student who was a convert to the LDS Church and
Okay.
also gay, and came to sort of study music and get started on their music career, but in the process were getting in a lot of trouble with their program and the church and their friend group, and it really kind of awful and messy what happened to this student.
Yeah.
Um, and so they ended up pretty much a year or two after joining the church, leaving the church again because of how difficult it was to be a part of a community that didn't accept queer people. So that was my first film. And then my second film that did almost at a time get me in serious trouble with BYU was about the furry community in Provo,
Okay.
Utah, where
Oh,
BYU was
wow.
based. Yeah, so it was about LDS furries or ex LDS furries.
Okay.
Because about 80 to 90% of furries are queer in some way.
Yeah.
And it was about their intersection with faith and with queerness and with their culture, and very strange, very fun film. But yeah, BYU at first didn't love that I made that film, but I got some homies in the film program that really, really covered my back for that one. So
That's great. So how has BYU reacted to this film?
right now I think they're trying to ignore it.
Okay.
Um, I I actually messaged the honor code office because I wanted their opinion on this film. I wanted to put a statement at the end of the film and be like, because typically when they're contacted for PR reasons, they will release an official statement that says, the honor code office is all about inclusion and love and support of its students. But the person that responded to my email very quickly and curtly was actually the person who was head of the honor code office at the time of all these bizarre changes.
Okay. Wow.
And this person emailed me back and said, "You've contacted the wrong person. Please forward this message to so and so." And I was like, I don't think I contacted the wrong person. But anyways, I forwarded the message and they ghosted me. So I think what they're hoping is that this film will die off on its own, because that's all they need to do. The more stink they make about it, the bigger the film gets. And so my hope is that we don't let it die, that it becomes a big
Yeah.
enough thing that they have to respond and pay attention to it.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for making this film and for getting it out there. And I'm very, very excited that I don't know if film audiences will get a chance to see it. David Sant, the film is A Long Way from Heaven. Thank you so much for bringing this film to our attention. And thanks so much for chatting today.
Thank you so much.
Take care.